What's going on, guys? We are back again, and today we're doing a tier list for all of the different heroes in Storybook Brawl. So I would consider this to be a pretty important exercise to go through. Maybe you don't have to actually go through it, but at least in your mind have some sort of a ranking system for all the different heroes in the game. And this video is being filmed after the most recent patch, which did have some pretty big hero changes. And if you guys are watching this video after a future patch, you can go down to the link in the description of this video to the full blog post, which will always be updated with my current tier list of all the different heroes in the game. All the heroes in the game I've played at least, I want to say, maybe 10 times each. No, 5 to 10 times each, I would say. And I got this tier list creator up here, and we're just going to go through and I'll give my opinion of each of them. So S is going to be the premium tier. Basically, anytime I see that hero, I'm picking them. All the way down to D, which is the heroes I pretty much rarely play. So first up, we have Beauty. Your monsters are good and have +2/+2. I find her to be a pretty strong hero, definitely stronger than a lot of the other just flat stats heroes in the game like Krampus and Mrs. Claus. I prefer her because she introduces a different dynamic where you can have a good build using a lot of monsters. Kind of fun. I'm going to put her in the B tier. Then we have Grandmother. You start with 50 health. When you reach level 6, become the big bad wolf. Your characters have +3/+3. Not a super interesting hero, but it is one that sometimes you can switch to later on in the game to give your characters a little bit of a stats boost. But even for that situation, I think there's better characters to switch into, or better heroes. I'm pretty low on her. I'm going to put her D tier. Then we have Mordred. The first time one of your characters dies each brawl, summon the highest attack character from your hand. So he can be pretty powerful late game, but he adds nothing to your board basically the entirety of the early and some of the mid game. I would put him in the D tier. He's pretty useless, although there are situations where he's useful in the late game if you switch to him. But I almost never pick him just because it's such a struggle to start the game with him. Morgan Le Fay. When your health drops to 20 or less, pick a treasure of your level. Pick again when you drop to 5 or less. So pretty strong hero to switch into. But again, she adds really nothing to your game early on and even midway through the game. So I'm going to put her C tier because I do switch into her quite often, a lot more than these other two characters. But I almost never will start the game with her. Pan's Shadow. The first evil character you buy each round costs 1 less. I really like this hero because he allows you to populate your board early on pretty quickly, and he doesn't fall off too hard. I mean, he falls off pretty hard later on, but the benefits you get from him are pretty consistent throughout the game. I would, of course, look to switch into a different hero late in the game if I have the opportunity. But I'm deciding between A and B tier, and I'm going to put him in B tier. Next, we have Peter Pants. Next, we have Peter Pants. You start at level 3 and never grow up. Characters in your shop have +1/+1 for each time you would have leveled. Honestly, I don't have a ton of experience with this hero. I played him a few times. I don't really love him, but I definitely do not know like the optimal strategy to go with him. From what I know of him, I would say he's not very strong. Definitely not my favorite, and I'm going to put him C tier. Pied Piper. Your shop sells an extra animal with +1/+1. So this, I feel, is one of the more slept-on heroes because the bonus and the benefit you get from him is sort of just like passive, so it's hard to really realize how much it's impacting your game the same way a lot of the other heroes do, where it's like a very active impact on the game. I think he's really strong, and I'm going to put him A tier. Then we have Sir Galahad. When you find a treasure, give your characters +2/+1 permanently. Not a very strong hero. It's okay. If you do get a lot of early treasures, you can be quite strong in the mid game, but it's not very fun to play him. I don't know. I don't really like him very much, and I don't think he's that strong. I'm deciding between D and C, and I think I'm just going to put him bottom of C tier. And if you guys have any comments or critiques on my tier list here, definitely comment down below. I want to know what you think because mine could be very different from yours, and I'd be interested to see. At least comment the one hero that you're the most different than me on. Next up, we have Snow Angel. For every 3 good characters you buy, get a random good character with +1/+1. It's okay, but it's not really anything I'm excited to play. For some reason, I'm a lot more, this might just be the way I play, I'm a lot more inclined to take a hero that sort of corners you into going for evil characters like Pan's Shadow. I prefer that, as opposed to this hero who kind of pushes you in the direction of good characters, which is not really my preferred way to play. I'll do it if that's what the game's giving me, but I don't like to really be boxed into it from hero selection. So I would put her probably in the C tier. The Cursed King, +1 gold and take +1 damage each round if you have more than 1 health left. Not really that great of a hero, but early game he can get you your board filled up a little bit quicker. You kind of have an early and maybe even a little bit of a mid-game advantage because of the additional gold, but it's not really enough of an advantage to justify the cost of 1 health per round. And plus, there's some other heroes that just give you even more of an advantage early game without the downside of losing health. So I would put him at C tier, sort of in the middle. Then we have the Headless Horseman. This is a new hero on this patch. You start with 3 kidnaps. Get an exact copy of the first enemy character that dies this brawl. So there's a lot of different ways you can use it. Obviously, you can save up the kidnaps and use them later on in the game to really kidnap a good character. I think the preferred use is probably using it at least 2 of them to populate your board quicker. So using it in the first few rounds, I think, is pretty optimal. Then maybe saving 1, maybe 2 if you're ahead for later on in the game. I don't find him to be a very strong hero. I almost never pick him. I've played him a few times and I haven't really liked it. And I don't think he's actually on this tier list thing here. So they haven't added him yet, but I would put him in the C tier also. Then we have Trophy Hunter. Your last breath abilities are also slay abilities. So in my mind, without a doubt, the strongest late game hero by a pretty significant margin. It's just getting there sometimes is really a struggle. I feel like I get a lot of 8th places with him. I'd much prefer switching into him later on if given the opportunity. For that reason, I think I'm going to put him at the top of B tier. But just like if we're going peak power, he's an S tier for sure. But it's just hard to really realize his power. Celestial Tiger, double the abilities of your level 2 and 3 treasures. So this is my single favorite hero in the game to play. I really like it. A lot of the time I go for the sarcophagus. It does 3 damage when one of your evil units dies. So you're doing 6 damage at random. I really like that playstyle. I find that I get a lot of top 4s, but not a lot of first places with him. I think he's probably really B tier, but I like him so much, I'm going to put him A tier. I almost always pick him when I see him in the hero selection screen. Next up, we have Sharon or Karen. I think it's Sharon. Give your first character that dies each brawl +2/+1 permanently. Pretty strong. It scales pretty evenly throughout the game, so it's not one of those heroes that's strong early but really falls off late. It's pretty consistently good, and you don't need to really hit on any particular characters to make it work. It just is always working for you. So I would put it at the top of A tier. Then we have Avella, who recently just got a little bit of a nerf. Your evil characters have +1 attack for each of your animals that died this brawl. So it used to give, I think, +1/+1 for each animal that died, which was very strong. It's definitely nowhere near as strong now. Took a pretty big hit. I think it's still either B or C tier. I'm going to put it at the bottom of B tier. Then we have Fallen Angel. Your characters have +2 attack if you start with 3 evil characters and +2 health if you start with 3 good characters. Falls off late in the game for sure, but Fallen Angel is the mid-game queen. She dominates the mid-game. It's really tough to beat her. It leaves you open to go for an evil build or a good build late on into the game. Pretty strong hero. I'm going to put her S tier. Then we have Geppetto. When you summon a character during a brawl, give it +3/+3. So this kind of incentivizes you to play more of a summon build. And summon builds are countered by a lot of the current meta and the late game comps that you'll see. I would say it can be strong if you get all the pieces you need, but it's really tough to get there. I don't think he's a very strong hero. I'm going to put him top of C tier. Then we have Gwen. You start with Knighthood, permanently upgrade a character. Adds a real fun element to the game. I don't know that she's a strongest hero, but she's definitely one that's fun to play, kind of like Celestial Tiger. I really like playing her. If you get a change hero card, she's a good one to switch into if it's early enough on in the game where the Knighthood ability is useful. I would give her, I think, B tier. You could talk me into A tier. I'm going to put her right here, though, B tier. Then we have Horde Dragon. When you pick a treasure, your choices are all 1 level higher. So I've had a few really solid games with Horde Dragon lately. I feel like I've figured out some comps that he really goes well with lately. If you get the Dwarven Furnace, which allows you to combine dwarves with just 2 of them, and you have Horde Dragon, the dwarves really scale a lot better in the late game because your treasures are so strong. I think he's pretty strong if you know what you're doing and you know what to go for. I think I'm going to put him A tier, probably middle of A tier. Jack's Giant. Characters in your front row have +2 health. Gives you a solid early game, but I think he just falls off super hard mid and late game. Not really anyone I play too regularly. I'll put him top of D tier. Krampus, your evil characters have +1/+1. Really doesn't do much. I mean, it does a little bit early game, but even that, it's not great. It's not really that useful. I find myself almost never picking it. I would give it top of D tier. Loki, cast a random spell each round instead of being able to buy spells. Definitely strong. I think he's stronger early game than he is later on in the game. It's kind of a big handicap not being able to select your own spells, but obviously a free spell each round is super worth it. I think he's going to go top of A tier. Then we have Mad Catter. When you roll, add attack and health equal to your level to a random character in your shop. He's kind of tough to really stabilize with early game, I find. In mid game is more of where he shines, especially if you proc his passive on some slay characters or something where you really need the added stats. Not one of my favorites, though. I think I'm going to put him bottom of B. Then we have Mask. When you reach level 3, get 2 spells that let you pick a new hero. Super strong. One of the stronger heroes in the game. Some tactics I like to use with him is early on, if no one has skip, I like to switch into skip early on if possible. And then I like to save one in my back pocket, one of his hero switch cards, for switching into something like Trophy Hunter. Even Muerte is pretty good to switch into. Mordred is good to switch into. There's a lot of good switches late on in the game. He gives you a lot of flexibility. I'm going to put him top of S tier. Merlin, when you cast a spell, give a random character +2/+1 permanently. It seems like it's really hard to get a mage build fully online in my games lately. The pieces are tough to really assemble. Merlin is super strong, especially if you get any of the treasures that allow you to cast multiple spells per round or decrease the cost of your spells. He can snowball pretty hard. Even if he's not snowballing and you don't have any of those treasures, he gives you a pretty good passive boost just throughout the game. I'm going to put him low S tier. Then we have Miri, King Lion. Your princess and princesses have +2/+2 for each prince and princess you've upgraded. It's tough because a lot of games I play in, princes and princesses are pretty contested. Going with Miri is not usually on the top of my list of heroes to play because I don't like to be boxed into that build. So for that reason, I'm going to put her C, top C. Yeah. Then we have Mrs. Claus. Your good characters have +1/+1. Basically the opposite of Krampus. Kind of just lackluster and non-inspiring. I'll put it D tier. Then there's Muerte. Your first last breath ability. Each brawl triggers twice. Strong, very strong late game hero, but it adds nothing, almost nothing to your game early on. It really starts to kick in like level 4, level 5, and by then a lot of the time it's too late. I like to switch into him if possible, but picking him outright in the beginning is kind of tough. I'm going to put him bottom of B. Then we have Potion Master. When you cast a spell directly on a character, give it +2/+2 permanently. So pretty strong. He can really, if you get some single target spells early on in the game, he can really strengthen your board relative to the competition. I think Merlin is just stronger because it's every spell instead of just single target spells. But Potion Master is right up there. I would put him definitely A tier. And I like him probably right here. Yeah, Pied Piper, I think I'm actually gonna, Pied Piper I think is slightly better than Sharon. Next up, Pup the Magic Dragon. Your characters with support give an additional +2/+1. Strong, not the strongest. It pushes you in a certain direction. Like, since you're getting +2/+1, you probably want to go for more like Kitty Cat Purse or like Polywoggle to try getting slays. Since you're getting the additional stats, it's easier to get some slays. Even like the level 3 princess with the quest is good to go with. It's pretty strong. I think I'm going to say bottom of A tier just because it sustains you throughout the early and mid game. Sad Dracula recently nerfed a little bit. Your first character has slay +3/+0 permanently. So I really like going slay builds, but I don't really love Sad Dracula with the current nerf. It used to give +3/+1, which the 1 was actually huge because then you couldn't be targeted down so easily. And you basically lose all of your board firepower when your slay unit in position 1 dies. So for that reason, I'm going to put him, I think top of C. Skip the time skipper. You start at level 3 and skip your first round. So without question, Skip, I think, is the top hero in the game right now. It's either 1 or 2. I can't decide. I'm going to put him number 1. There was recently a card removed from the game, the Adventurer, which allowed you to slay for additional XP. Since that's been removed, the fact that you start a whole level ahead of everyone is significantly more powerful than it used to be. So I think Skip definitely gets the number 1 spot with the current changes and the current way the game's played. Now we got the Fates. Your upgraded characters have +5/+5. Sometimes I'll switch into this hero if I really need the added firepower and I feel like I'm going to lose. Otherwise, I kind of just avoid her most of the time. She's definitely not as bad as the D tier of heroes. I think she's somewhere in the mid-C tier. I'll play her once in a while, but just not really fun, not really inspiring. Wonder Waddle. You need just 2 copies to upgrade level 2 and 3 animals. Can be a very powerful hero. I don't really like playing it. It's definitely not my favorite play style. Yeah, it gives you a lot of early and mid-game power on your board. You can snowball in a number of different directions. When you have a good game with this hero, it seems obvious and it seems like a super strong hero, but I find that those games are not that frequent. Like maybe 1 out of every 3 games, I really string together something special, but a lot of the time I'm just like, wow, maybe I'm really overrating this hero. I'm going to put it bottom of A tier. And then lastly, Zelhua. Your level 4, 5, and 6 characters cost 3 gold. This is one that I'll switch into some of the time. I don't mind picking it, but it is an uphill battle just because you're not getting anything from your hero for the first handful of rounds, so it's pretty tough. The first 6 rounds, I guess. So it can be tough to stabilize. And the thing is, you're not really benefiting from the savings until you're up to like level 5 and 6, because you're only saving 1 gold at level 4. So I would put him definitely in B tier. I want to, yeah, like right there, middle B tier. So that's the list, guys. Comment down below. Let's see, is there anything we want to change? I think my S tier is locked and loaded. I don't want to change anything there. My A tier, Horde Dragon seems a little out of place. Yeah, I think I'm going to move him down. I'll move Celestial Tiger down. Pan's Shadow's going up a little bit. Yeah, Gwen, I feel like we could have some conflicting viewpoints on her. I like where she is. These all look... Geppetto, I could move up. I think I'll put him top of C. And then as far as these go, I think I would do that. This guy could be D tier, Sir Galahad. I'm going to keep him bottom of C for now, but I think that's going to do it, guys. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of my tier list. Which ones would you change? It'd be really interesting to get some feedback from you guys because I'd love to know what other people are thinking, so maybe I can try some different things. And as always, there's a blog post associated with this video that will have the current up-to-date based on the new patch tier list. So definitely check that out, and thanks for watching, guys.